Welcome back to our 5th annual Halloween special. Today I have my lovely wife, Sam, who has joined me for all 4 previous years and is now joining me on some singular reviews for our Halloween special this year. Today we're going to be talking about Child's Play. It came out in 1988, directed by Tom Holland, not Spider-Man. So I'm curious, I actually don't know this about you. When was the first time you saw Child's Play?
I think I was like 8 or 9 years old.
You were young.
Yeah.
You were a child.
I was an actual child when I saw this. And the funny part is I laughed through most of it, I think.
Yeah, it is kind of a funny movie.
It is. And it's like, I didn't know it at the time, but then I realized as I got older and watched like those vintage Halloween horror films, this is definitely paying homage to that style of like the 60s and 70s thriller horror films more than like the 80s slasher films that we started to get.
Yeah, it's oddly disconnected from a lot of the 80s slasher movies that were inspired by Halloween in 78 and then all the Jason movies after that. This one doesn't really feel like them. I mean, it has a killer who kills people with a knife, but the fact that it's a doll and that in a way the main protagonist is actually a small boy. Supposedly when this movie came out, because obviously I was just being born, there were boycotts due to the level of violence and the fact that it was a kid and a doll.
I don't know. I don't really consider it the more violent of the horror films I've seen. Like, I've seen way worse. Obviously, my dad didn't have a problem with me watching it when I was like 8, 9 years old because it's not as graphically violent as I think some of the slasher films are. I kind of don't understand it. I think it's because people just weren't used to seeing a child and a doll.
That's what it is.
That situation.
That's definitely what it is. It's the subject matter combined with the kid and the fact that it's a doll. And I don't really consider it that violent either. I mean, there are some moments of gore, but most of it is hidden or off screen, like when Chucky pushes the woman out of the window. You basically just see like a first-person point of view of Chucky coming towards her, and then you get like a really cool shot of her falling out of the window. But I mean, it's not all that violent, really. And so I don't really consider this movie to be anything that parents were concerned about when it first came out. It's quite fun, actually.
Yeah, it's a really fun horror film, actually. And I've always enjoyed it. It's not like one of those ones where I'm like, okay, I've seen it enough. I'm like, I can rewatch it every year and not have any issues rewatching it. And you always notice new things. Like this past time me watching it, I noticed more of like things like Stanley Kubrick had done or Hitchcock had done. Like the director, Tom Holland, paid kind of an homage to those style of horror films, less so than the Michael Myers style. So it was like, I saw a lot of like The Shining in this.
You're absolutely right, actually. Tom Holland was really inspired by Hitchcock. He was the writer of Psycho 2, which was like actually not too bad for a Psycho sequel. And so I think when he finally got to take the reins of a horror film, he definitely wanted to pay homage to a lot of his heroes. Yeah. And when I watch Child's Play, it kind of comes off, I told this the other day, it kind of comes off like a rated R Goosebumps episode.
Basically, it is a rated R Goosebumps episode, and I love it for that.
Yeah, me too.
The rest of the series is kind of that same quirkiness. The fact that they completely changed point of view in the next following ones, where it's Chucky is now the main character versus the child is the main character, definitely twisted it up. But so far, I mean, they have 7 movies now?
7, yeah, if you include the new Cult of Chucky.
Right, and they're all still, from what I remember, it's been a long time since I've seen most of them, and I have not seen the last 2. You've just recently seen them.
Yeah, so since everyone will ask my opinion of the Chuckies, I've recently marathoned all of them except Cult of Chucky. I haven't watched Cult yet. But Child's Play is good. Child's Play 2 ain't too bad. 3 is kind of weird. Like, it takes place in a military school.
That's the one where I have not actually, I don't think I've seen that one.
It has a couple really cool gory moments where Chucky, like, no spoilers, I guess, but there's with a big fan. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. Then they got straight comedy. That was in the late 90s, where after Scream came out, and they became obsessed with making horror comedies. So Bride of Chucky was a straight comedy, and it was okay. It has a couple fun moments if you don't take it too seriously. Seed of Chucky is insanity. That movie, it starts with a CGI shot of Chucky's sperm going through Tiffany, and that movie was oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, that it knew what it was. Let's put it that way.
It did.
And the military one's the only one I haven't seen, and the newest one. So
you can skip 3.
3 and the newest one are the only ones out of the series I've not seen. So I've seen 1, 2, and then Bride of Chucky, Seed of Chucky, and yeah.
Curse of Chucky actually isn't too bad. That one took the horror roots back and made it more just about Chucky killing people, and that one's not too bad. The main girl is in a wheelchair the whole time, and I think that was sort of like their way of saying, okay, well, in modern day, I think audiences know you can probably just run away from a doll really quickly. So they took that convenience away from the main character and gave her a wheelchair. That one's not too bad.
Yeah.
This is probably still the best one, though.
Yeah, I mean, as a whole, though, the series does hold up fairly well when you compare it to maybe something like the Halloween series or
Strangely.
Saw series or Scream series, where it's like they progressively do this high and low thing. Chucky just... It stays on a parallel pretty much the whole time with a couple little nice spikes of like, hey, this one's better than this one, but none of them are bad.
It's true. Most people don't really talk about the Chucky movies as much anymore. Talk about them has resurfaced more with the recent like Cult of Chucky and Curse of Chucky. But yeah, I mean, I recently marathoned all the Saw movies too, and for me, after like 2, they all kind of just bottom out. 6 is okay.
And that's what I've heard, because I think I only made it through 1 and 2, and then after that I heard 3 and the rest were all so bad that it wasn't worth the time to see them.
The Chucky movies are fairly consistent, because like the first one, I don't really consider it like a classic like Halloween or something, or Psycho, but it's a fun enough horror movie that knew what it was, that was enjoyable enough, that had surprisingly fantastic animatronics. Brad Dourif voices Chucky in all of the films still, and it's original. He played Charles Lee Ray in the very beginning. And he's amazing.
Yeah.
He is so good as Chucky. Like, he is one of my favorite evil doll voices, which I guess that's sort of like a very small group of people. But I really love him.
I don't think I could see anybody else playing that voice at this point.
Chucky is the type of villain that wasn't too present in slasher movies at the time, because most of them were just faceless, mask-wearing, silent people who kill people. The idea of this little thing that could infiltrate your home and be viewed as completely innocent by everyone. And most of the Chucky movies follow a similar formula, that someone knows about Chucky and what he can do, and no one believes him or her.
Yeah.
And this one started that formula. And something that doesn't really get a lot of attention in this movie, ever, from what I hear, is Catherine Hicks. Her performance is damn good.
It really is. The child's really good in this too, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, considering you don't see him, he's the protagonist, but you don't see him for a lot of the movie, because obviously he goes away for a little while and things like that. So he's honestly, like, he feels like he's part of the movie without getting that stupid, like, little kid detached segment scene where you're like, oh, this feels very forced, like the child's not really part of this. It's like The Shining, where the child actor in The Shining nailed what he was supposed to be doing too. So it's like, that's good directing on everybody's part, the fact that like these children who don't have a lot of experience are able to keep up with people who have a lot more experience and not seem out of place.
Absolutely. This movie had a lot riding on it. If the actors didn't commit, if the puppetry didn't work out, the whole thing would fail. And the actors commit. I mean, Catherine Hicks is most known for Seventh Heaven, the TV show later, but she was in like Star Trek IV, this film in the 80s. She had a very promising movie career and went into TV after that, but she really commits. I mean, if you really think about it, I mean, this is someone holding a doll trying to act as hard as they can, but she does a great job.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly hard to look at a blank screen and act towards a blank screen instead of talking to somebody like that's directly across from you. I'm like, so I applaud the acting in this, and I'm surprised by some of like the special effects they use, like the explosions and the lightning, and a lot of thought went into making sure that everything mattered in what they were doing. Like, all of the scenes have a point to them, and there's not like a whole bunch of extra dead end plot holes that you're like, well, what's this? Everything loops back and finishes off in closed circles instead of you being left like going, oh, okay.
Like I said, this isn't a perfect movie. I mean, it's a very guilty pleasure, fun Halloween film. It's not a classic. As a film that started a huge franchise, it's not great. But I guess my only real issues with it are the whole voodoo subplot is very ham-fisted in there. Just to be like, how do you explain the doll thing and his abilities? Well, he had a voodoo teacher once. Let's go find him. Yeah. And then he says how you kill him. And it's just so quick and thrown together really quick. And a lot of horror movies do this. When I reviewed Jason Lives and I rewatched it, Tommy Jarvis finds these occult books in his car and reads them really quick and goes, "Oh, okay, I gotta kill Jason in Camp Crystal Lake. I know how to do it," and then that's it. And that was sort of the trend back then. Was there's this unstoppable force. How do you kill him? They find out in 2 seconds, and then we're back running along again.
Yeah, that's not the only complaint I would have. How did this woman come into her home, onto a crime scene where somebody just got murdered, and throw the police out of her house?
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
All I know is that I've just lost my best friend tonight to a horrible accident, and I would like some time alone with my son, who I'm sure is just as upset about this as I am.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'll clear everybody out of here right away, okay? Hey guys, you done, huh? Let's go. Chop, chop. Let's go, everybody.
I don't want you to be here. Okay. All right, guys, clear out. I mean,
you don't get to tell the police you have to leave my house if there's
true.
a murder scene. It's like, no, that's just not how that works.
All right. I don't want you guys to be here because I have to clean up the evidence.
Right. They wouldn't allow that. So there are some story flaws, but not like things that don't get explained.
Yeah. And when a movie is this like tongue-in-cheek and aware of its silliness and just plain enjoyable to watch, sometimes flaws just kind of vaporize, you know, and you're just like, who fucking cares? I mean, there are a few movies that I can watch where I'm like, I really don't care that much about this right now. Like, I just enjoy watching it. And Child's Play is one of those because most of the time I'm super analytical and I'm, you know, looking at movies like, I don't have problems. That's how I talk too when I watch films.
Yeah, that's true. He does talk like that a lot, actually. It's not a voice that's not uncommon to be heard.
So yeah, if you've never seen the first Child's Play or any of the Chucky movies, I'd recommend starting with this one. You don't necessarily have to watch all the sequels, but they're fun. I mean, you know, there isn't, to me anyway, a truly awful one, because the ones that I would say are probably the worst are like the self-aware comedy ones. And it's hard to say they're terrible when they're trying so hard to be so self-aware, but the first one's definitely the best. It has surprisingly good performances and amazing animatronics. I'm going to give Child's Play a B+.
And I am going to give Child's Play a B.
A B for big bad boy. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, no, it's, as you said, it's an all-around, it's a good watch. Is it a perfect film? No. Is it a bad film? No, but it's a fun film to watch, and
especially for Halloween.
Yeah, I mean, it fits into the Halloween stuff. Like, I mean, what more can you ask from a movie about a doll?
Yeah, especially since nowadays, like, everyone's like, oh, Annabelle. Oh my gosh, you know, The Conjuring. Oh, like, there were evil doll movies before people. Like, this is the OG. Give some respect to the OG evil doll. Thank you, my beautiful wife, for joining me on this review of Child's Play. We're going to have some more leading up to Halloween with you.
Yes, I'm going to finally be in some of them.
I'm excited to have you. The videos are much better with her, considerably better, more appealing, that's for sure, than having to look at this face the whole time.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you very much, guys, for watching. Look forward to more in the Halloween special. And as always, if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.
I wonder how big of a dent you would put in a car if I shoved you out a window.
Okay.
Run!